With the 135th overall pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys took a flyer on Mississippi State quarterback Dak Prescott. Prescott had an extremely successful final 2 seasons with the Bulldogs, leading them to 2 of their best seasons over the past decade in 2014 and 2015, but the NFL and the Cowboys specifically understood that he was still a bit of a project. And Dallas in particular was perfect. The young quarterback had the opportunity to sit and learn behind then 36-year-old franchise quarterback Tony Romo, the classic Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers story we've all become accustomed to. Well, things didn't quite go as planned. During a preseason game against the Seattle Seahawks that August, Tony Romo gets hit while trying to slide and protect himself. And, of course, attuned to Tony Romo's career, he breaks a bone in his back that would sideline him to start the 2016 season. That means a then 23-year-old Dak Prescott is going to be thrown with the Wolves week 1. To many, he wasn't ready, and it was a signal that the Cowboys were throwing that season away. And in week 1, it seemed many were right. They lose a nail-biter to the New York Giants team that won 6 games the season prior. Prescott looked fine, but he was clearly out of his element. He never looked back. Prescott and the Cowboys followed that game with an 11-game win streak. He threw for over 200 yards in 9 straight games during it. He threw for over 240 yards in over half of his games that season. They finished that season as the 1 seed in the NFC, the second best record in the entire NFL, only trailing the Tom Brady-led Patriots in the middle of the second half of their dynasty. And, we know how that season ended, but that's not the point. The Cowboys had found their franchise guy. When Tony Romo had the opportunity to come back for the playoffs that year, head coach at the time, Jason Garrett, decided to stick with the rookie. Prescott led them there. He was going to finish it. And when Romo retired that following offseason, the Dak Prescott era officially fell upon the DFW area. The next 2 years didn't exactly go as planned. Prescott's issues that he had pre-draft really started to rear their ugly head. His inaccuracy throwing deep, he was really rough under pressure, not great targeting the middle of the field. He looked like, well, a 4th-round pick quarterback. And the Cowboys, mainly in 2017, struggled because of this. His lack of refinement was a point of emphasis for opposing defenses, and once they stopped the explosive Cowboys run game, the entire offense usually crumbled. That following offseason, he gets into the lab with a group of trainers called 3D QB, and he turns himself from a dual-threat, game-managing quarterback thriving off of an excellent offensive line and run game to one of the most explosive passers in the NFL. But to understand how he transformed, it's important to understand how he got here in the first place. The Dak Prescott you see at Mississippi State is far from the Dak you see in 2025. A true dual-threat quarterback, a quarterback that kills opposing defenses with the prospect of his legs. In 2013, Prescott rushes for just under 1,000 yards as a Bulldog, with a similar number the season prior in 2013. And in 2015, he's still efficient, rushing to just under 600 yards, with double-digit touchdowns on the ground in each of these seasons. And keep in mind, the NCAA counts sack yardage against their rushing yards for quarterbacks, so I imagine that number, especially in 2014, is over that 1,000-yard mark that we like to covet. And that's how the Bulldog offense succeeded. The idea of Dak's legs kept SEC defenses on their toes, and in 2015, that reputation allows him to put up the best passing season of his college career. Just under 3,800 yards, 29 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. And so when you draft Dak, you understand you're getting a guy who can make things happen with his legs, which is something that has gotten more popular over the NFL in the mid-2010s. You're also getting a guy who has limitations when it comes to watching his actual tape. Timing, anticipation, you name it. But the thing that sticks out like a sore thumb to me is the actual motion. It's clunky, slow, and inconsistent. Inconsistent is a huge one. There's a lot of minuscule problems that we'll get into. But he carries a lot of that into the pros. And it's why when teams figured out how to counter the offensive line in that Zeke rushing attack, the Cowboys' offense did not look the same. Take his success running play action in 2016, for example. Teams were so afraid of Zeke in that rushing attack that Dakota was able to light the league on fire while faking the run. He threw for 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns to no interceptions, to the tune of a 76% completion percentage and a 124 passer rating. The next 2 seasons, not so hot. Significant hits in the completion percentage and yards department, and a drop of 20 points in passer rating, a complete regression. His completion percentage as a whole drops by 5 points in 2017. He throws 8 more interceptions, 600 less yards, and the Cowboys' offense is nowhere near as explosive. And the biggest reason for that is his actual throwing motion. In an interview with ESPN that training camp in 2018, he told Todd Archer, quote, "The reason Tom can play until he's 45 or whenever he wants is that he uses all of his body in his throws. It's not just his arm." Let's look at this clip of Dak throwing in 2016. The thing I want you to focus on is the connection of three things: his hips, his shoulders, and his arm. You can see how they all travel in unison. I'll show you one more time. It's like a formulaic, all-in-one motion. As soon as his hips draw back, his shoulders and his arm follow, and as he steps towards the throw, they all come forward at the same time. In theory, this sounds good, right? By being connected in your entire upper body, it can make you more accurate. Not necessarily. Oftentimes, it can leave you overcompensating with your arm. To explain this, we're going to jump sports to baseball. If you've been paying a lot of attention to guys like Paul Skeens or Tarek Skubal, you'll hear guys talk a lot about hip and shoulder separation. The idea is by opening up your hips first and allowing your shoulders and arm to kind of follow, it's allowing more power to generate via your lower body. Guys are using their legs, their hips, their lower torso to create that power, and as they follow through with their shoulders and arm, it's kind of just finishing the job, right? You're getting your full body into a throw. I want you to imagine a line drawn at Paul Skeens' hip, his pelvis, and a line drawn at his shoulders. Watch as he's about to hip and his shoulders open and it becomes unparalleled with that line with his top shoulders. And then his shoulders follow. That's how he's able to throw 100 consistently. It's not just pitchers, hitters do this as well. Slow down an Aaron Judge at bat, you'll see his hips open up as his kind of upper body and bat follow him. But with pitchers specifically, it's supposed to take strain off of their arm. A lot of the power is coming from the rest of them so they don't have to, tear a ligament throwing with their arm. And so the idea from the 3D QB guys, the guys who curated that program, one of them whom Tom House, an actual former pitching coach for the Texas Rangers, is that by translating that idea to football, you can create more throw power, throw the ball harder, throw the ball farther as a quarterback. It's a little strange, the idea, because for most positions in football, you kind of want your body to be synced, especially your hips. You want them to be nice and fluid, especially if you're playing like a corner. But for quarterback, which is the only position that throws, it makes a lot of sense. So let's translate it. Look at Tom Brady as he's about to throw late in his career. He still starts with his elbows pointed towards where he wants to throw, and as he loads back, watch his hips open first. And then that upper body follows. This is a huge reason that despite aging, Tom was still able to launch the ball with the velocity he did. Honestly, compare some of the old Tom Brady film to the young Tom Brady film. There's an argument to be made that Tom threw the ball with more velocity the deeper he got into his career. Back to Dak in 2016 though. Watch the difference. Upper body all in one motion, right? It's like a formulaic, robotic, one thing going on. Compare that to Dak after 2 full seasons of training in 2019. His hips open up first, that upper half of the body follows. Hips open, upper body follows. It's a lot more consistent. It's generating a lot more power. You see this, what seems like a minor adjustment in the Cowboys and Dak's ability to attack the deep part of the field. In 2017, Dak was rather shy throwing the ball more than 20 yards down the field. He only attempted 43 of such passes. He completed just 37% of them and only had 10 big time throws. Rather pedestrian. Fast forward to 2019, Dak is a completely different animal. Not only is he more aggressive in that regard, attempting 46 of such throws, almost double the number in 2017, he was more accurate with a completion percentage that was 10 points higher and more than double the big time throws in that season. That's because when you don't have this power that's generated with your lower body and your hips, you can often overcompensate with your arm. This leads a lot of deep Dak throws to be overthrown, underthrown, inconsistencies in accuracy. If he's throwing the ball outside the numbers, 10-yard out or something like that, it's a little high or it's a little behind because he's overcompensating with his arm. Back to that interview with ESPN. Prescott says, if you're a quarterback and you study the position and you study the way the body moves, it's putting force into the ground to get the ball the way you want. Focus on that second half. Force into the ground. Let's go back to early Dak Prescott. Watch as he releases this throw into the end zone. Do you notice anything? No? Let's zoom in on his feet. It's almost like he's releasing the ball from his toes. To me, this is the biggest issue with Dak's early mechanics. Stand up right now and act like you're throwing a football. Oh, wait. All right, you there? Now try to do it on the ball of your feet with your front foot. Isn't that awkward? Doesn't it feel like you're constantly throwing off of your back foot? This is what Dak was doing for a majority of throws to start his career. I tried to find a reason for this. Maybe there's some kind of coaching that goes on. Maybe he was better throwing off platform in college and high school, and so they told him to do that. Maybe he had a toe injury that we don't know about. What I do know, though, is that it is terrible for velocity. You can't drive the ball and you can't throw the ball as far. Combine that with the fact that his upper body was synced, like it makes sense a lot of these early Dak throws are a little bit lollipoppy. Yes, it's good to load up on that back foot first, but you want to transfer that power forward through the front foot and kind of drag your back foot. That's how you usually do it. Look at Tom Brady, look at some of the greats, Drew Brees, that's how they do it. Dak was doing like a complete opposite, keeping that weight in his back foot and just like, I don't know, tight aiming it with his front. I don't know what to describe it as. Combine that with his actual arm angle. Watch how high Dak's release point is when he's young. It's almost directly above his head. Look at this photo, same thing, directly above his head. Fast forward to 2019, it's closer to his forehead. This tracks with his actual ball velocity. Early Dak tended to lollipop those throws, especially over the middle, like I mentioned earlier. He wasn't exactly a tight window killer over the middle. A lot of this is a lack of power transfer from his back foot to his front foot. A lot of this is the lack of generating power with his hips. But a lot of this is the fact that he's throwing the ball from an angle that is just awkward in terms of like generating power. Let's just look at Dak's numbers throwing the ball over the middle of the field in 2017. I want you to think of 20 yards of a football field beyond the line of scrimmage as an area with 3 rows and 3 columns. One column for below 10 yards, one for between 20 and 20, that's in the middle of the field, one for beyond 20. 3 rows representing the middle and the outside hash marks. These are Dak's numbers throwing over the middle of the field in 2017, in each little quadrant, rather pedestrian to the middle and to his right. But when you look towards the middle left is where the problem area arises. Dak Prescott had a passer rating of 64 when targeting that area of the field. That's because this specifically can be a problem area for right-handed quarterbacks without strong arms. Think about it, you're throwing across your body. And with Dak pre-2019, where he's putting too much pressure on his arm, not stepping into his throws, releasing the ball way too high, it can be a real issue. Short throws behind, maybe a little too high, it creates that inconsistency. Fast forward to 2019, that area of the field has become a strength. Passer rating 40 points higher, more attempts, more efficient, getting more aggressive. These are the results of a completely reworked throwing mechanic. Are there other factors that led to this leap that Dak Prescott had in 2019? Absolutely. You'll note that they hired Kellen Moore to be their offensive coordinator in 2019. The year prior, they traded for Amari Cooper about halfway through the season. You'll actually see Dak's numbers that year completely flipped after that trade, completely bolstering a wide receiver core that was certainly a shell of its former self. But all of these moves point to short-term success for Prescott, which shows me that this actual mechanical change completely changed. His game is the long-term success for the Cowboys following it. From 2016 to 2018, Prescott had been rather average from a numbers standpoint. Not once did he throw for over 4,000 yards. Not once did he eclipse 30 touchdowns. The Cowboys' offense finished top 10 in EPA per play just once. You'll note the rookie season where Zeke was going crazy. They had one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Since that 2019 season, the years where he's been fully healthy, he's eclipsed 4,000 yards every single time. 30 touchdowns every single time, including leading the league in that mark in 2023. The Cowboys offense itself has finished in the top 10 in EPA per play in each of those seasons, including 3 top 5 finishes and the second best offense in football in 2023. All of this with different coordinators, different coaches, different weapons. All of this would point to an actual play style change, right? The sustained success over the last few years. I also find it funny this mechanics overhaul doesn't even happen if his actual quarterback coach from his first few seasons doesn't get hired by the Oakland Raiders. It's kind of funny that Oakland helped his career in more than a few ways. They get that guy away from him, and then they give him Amari Cooper. It's kind of like they saved his life in 2018. Obviously, there are other factors leading to Dak being one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's gotten so much better as a processor, but it's very interesting how something simple as just tweaking a few mechanical issues you have takes you from being this game manager to an offensive engine who throws the ball with velocity and has access to every area of the field. But that's going to do it for this one. If you've made it this far, shout out to you. You're a real one. Go Cowboys. Dak is one of my favorite players. I feel like I had to make a video about him at some point. I felt like this was the best way to do it. It's such a cool story. It's so great how he's changed over the course of his career. He's completely different from the start. It's why I love the game of football, watching people transform and learning new things. Please leave a like, subscribe if you're new. If you hadn't seen my last video, it did pretty well. It's on the nickel position. If you're a Cowboys fan, there's a little bit about Caleb Downs in that video, so go check it out. Peace.